Hey, welcome back to Matt Flex and Chill. This is your host, Rachel Gregory, and I'm super excited. I feel like I always say this, but I'm super duper, wow, I'm a dork, excited to share this episode with you today with my good friend and 10 times repeat guest, I think it is, Ashley Van Houten. So in today's episode, we're going to be chatting all about our new I can't even talk. Our new program that we are launching in, I guess, a few weeks now. And it is called Muscle Science for Women. It is a 12-week program on the theory and application of strength and muscle building. So in today's episode, we are just diving into what the program involves. We're chatting all about muscle building and strength building for women specifically. We're going off on tangents with a lot of different subjects as we normally do. So it's a really fun conversation while also giving you kind of the lowdown on what the program is going to involve if you're interested. And after you listen to this podcast, or if this intro intrigues you, you can go to the link in the show notes that will bring you to the sign up page to get on the list to reserve your spot for the program. So that link, I'll just read it out loud. It's also in the show notes. It'll be metflexlife.com/muscle-science-women. So you can go there, find out a little bit more about the program, get on the waiting list for when enrollment opens. And yeah, let's get into it.
This is the most official podcast we've ever done. I can sense it now. There was clapping. There was that, like that movie, that old school movie thing where you're like, take two. That thing came out. Oh my God. We are so official right now. I feel like we're leveling up in life.
We are.
All right,
we are.
Great.
Exciting.
I love this mug, by the way. Sumo mug.
I know. It's a Buddha. You see that? Yeah, it's like a Buddha. Sumo, not Buddha. I'm like, what am I talking about?
That's the opposite. Sumo is like the opposite of Buddha.
I'm sorry. This is not a good representation of how my brain's going to work for this podcast. But hopefully it gets better.
Downhill fast. Okay. I'm very excited because I have gotten a ton. I hope you have too, but I always get a ton of good feedback when we do podcasts together. So for whatever reason, I think people like us chatting together, which makes me happy. Okay, good.
Because I like chatting.
Yeah, and it's been a little while, and we have lots of things to talk about. But first, maybe before we get into like the real meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about, how's life where you are? Like, how is everything?
Good. I mean, yeah, that's like good is like the word lately. Someone asked me this earlier. I'm like, I don't really know. Like, it's been pretty much
compared to what, I guess. Yeah.
I know, right? I mean, I feel like, well, it's been almost a year since COVID started, right? And I feel like it feels like yesterday. But things are hopefully moving in the right direction. I'm in San Diego, obviously, so things are like opening up again. I mean, my gym's been open for a while, so I haven't had that issue, but I know you're going to chat about that in a second. So yeah, things are good. I'm just excited. Like we've been geeking out the last few months, kind of preparing for what we're going to talk about. And I just love everything about what we're doing. And so it just makes me excited to like get to work every day and like create and just geek out.
It's true. It is very good to have a goal and a project that you enjoy when you're in like the Groundhog Day of life where like every day is exactly the same. I will say though, my morale and mood has improved significantly this week because our restrictions have lessened. I think I told you this earlier. The gym's opened. I went to a restaurant last night, sat inside. Someone else made me food. I went to the gym. I've gone to the gym like 3 days this week. And like, I basically looked at a weight and then I was like, I'm good. I'm tired now. Like I barely did anything. My expectations for myself are so low. But I'm somebody too who, and this is, maybe we can get into this when we talk about some mindset stuff later. I really am not that frustrated. Like I was frustrated not being able to go to the gym, but going back and knowing that I'm starting like really far behind maybe where I was 6-8 months ago. I really am not like, oh man, it sucks. I can't squat, what I squatted like 8 months ago. I like the challenge. I'm like, here we go again. Like maybe I have a chance to rewire some things that weren't great. Maybe I have a chance to focus on something else that's going to be fun. And I had a little bit of a refresher time where I wasn't in the gym because, you take it for granted when you're there all the time. And so the fact that I went in and kind of like struggled my way through a very mediocre workout, I kind of looked at it like it was kind of exciting. I'm like, all right, like I'm back in this. Let's do it. Let's see what I can do. So, yeah, but it just makes me feel so much better. Like my energy is so much better. My like feeling about the world is so much better. And like, it's still deeply, deeply winter here and will be for a while. I was telling you offline about the killer icicle that I'm just like waiting to drop outside of my window and I'm so scared of. But yeah, like I'm feeling more hope. And I feel like that normally happens around springtime. And it happened last spring when like things started looking better and they were a little bit better in the summer. And then it kind of went another way, but I'm feeling good. Like we've got a lot of work on our plates. That's really fun. And I get to go back to the gym and like try some of it out and stuff. So it's been really cool. So I feel better generally.
That's awesome.
I'm less miserable. People are like, okay, I can sense that you're back at the gym because you're not as much of a jerk.
And it's beneficial to people and think about like when you take, so much time off, you actually kind of give yourself like, oh, like I get a little bit more newbie gains now because I've taken so much time off. Now my body's not used to what I've been doing. So let's go for it. Obviously with a smart approach, which we're going to talk about now. But yeah, that's awesome.
And the one thing that I've been really proud of this week, and this goes into sort of like maturity and training maturity, which we can talk about, is in past times when I would take time off, or I'd even just take time off of a certain kind of training or movement or whatever. And then I'd go back, and because I have all of these years of working out and training, and maybe my mind would tell me, you can go back in and do this much volume, this much weight. And then I'd be like incapacitated because obviously, right? And so this week I was like, I am not doing that. I am not going to go in and just like let my ego dictate what happens and be so sore and miserable and then not be able to work out for a week. And I worked out 3 days in a row and I feel like good. Like I'm a little bit, like a little bit tight in some places, whatever, but I am not nearly as sore as I probably would have been in like previous times. So I'm like, all right, I'm actually like not being an idiot about this. Like I was really proud of myself. I'm like, all right, I'm like learning some things. So anyway, I was pretty happy about that.
That's awesome. And and like you said, you're learning, like you're educated on that. And that's like a huge thing. Like once you understand these different concepts, it really becomes like ingrained in your mind, you really understand like, okay, this is what I'm doing to reach this goal, or just understanding the why behind it. It's like makes it so much easier to be like, okay, yeah, like I'm not going to go balls to the wall, back squatting what I did maybe a year ago. Like that's obviously not smart, but like what other things can I do to like gradually get myself there? So I think it's just like a huge like education piece of things, like the education side of things. And that's why, what we're about to talk about, which I feel like we keep inching off, it's like, for me, like over the past few years, I feel like I'm literally learning something new every single day that I wish, well, obviously everybody wishes they knew this before, right? But I feel like even a year ago or even 6 months ago, like what I'm doing now in the gym, it's like, damn it, I wish I did that 6 months ago, right? And it's just like becoming so much more efficient and like purposeful and intentional about what I'm doing. And understanding why, it's like so eye-opening. Yeah,
I love that. I mean, so that's one of the most exciting things about the project that we're putting out. And I think that's also why people have been responding so well, even though we've been very like cryptic and vague about it, because we're, it's like the whole like marketing, we just got to like tease it before we tell you. But people, even the little bit that we've talked about it, we've gotten a lot of response, because I think what we're doing, and I feel like I can say this in a not braggy way because we're in this world and we are very much involved and have our fingers on the pulse, that we're doing something that is really, really unique in terms of our approach to a fitness program, essentially. So, I mean, like, should we just like should we just get into it now? We've talked about enough. Okay.
Let's do it.
So, and I'll just maybe start talking a little bit about like origin and you jump in. But the first project that we did together was at the beginning of COVID. And we just kind of quickly put together an online community and group for women to learn a little bit from each other, to share some fitness and wellness and like mindset, mental health tips. We provided some resources. We did some like live Q&As, and we just kind of got a group together of people who were probably feeling pretty disconnected and pretty frustrated and out of the gym and out of their normal routine. And we were doing this for us as much as for everybody else, because we're like, this sucks. Like, let's do something for our morale and for our health. And it was such a rewarding and fun experience. And I think the feedback was great. People really enjoyed it. They really got a lot out of it. The community part of it was massive. And you and I had a lot of fun working together and realized that we see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, which is great. And we're like, all right, maybe there's more to this. Maybe we can do some more things together that can help other people and help women in our industry, or women who are interested in fitness and strength and muscle building and all the things we're interested in, who are maybe frustrated because either there's too much information out there, the information is deliberately misleading or false, because there's a lot of that, or just people maybe who have plateaued, maybe some people who need some tweaks, maybe just need some accountability. Like there's a lot of reasons why people aren't hitting their fitness and wellness goals, right? There's a ton of reasons, some big, some small, some very deeply rooted, and some that are as simple as there's this one little tweak you could make over here and it is totally going to change, how your body works. But we're getting so much feedback about people who were frustrated or had so many misconceptions about what it is to be a woman in the gym, working out and getting stronger and building muscle. And so, over these months, you and I all of our podcasts that we were doing together and stuff like that, were like, we just keep getting like these same questions over and over, and these same like frustrations from people. And we're like, let's like put together a course. Let's put together a course, program, whatever you want to call it, that's going to be like answering these questions definitively once and for all. We're going to provide a program to help women who want to get stronger and fitter and build muscle in the gym. But we're also going to build an entire curriculum around it that teaches you, like you said earlier, the why and the how and the what. So we're not just like, here's a program, go to town, hope for the best, hope you get stronger. We're going to provide this program that's very detailed and intensive and research backed and studied, but we're also going to like walk you through it and walk through it with you and talk about why all of these elements are important, and talk about why there's so much misconception and misleading information, and cut through it. So we've been working really hard for months because it's very in depth. This isn't just, you're going to buy a PDF off the internet. There's a lot more to it. But I think that that's what people are looking for. I think people are looking for people want more than just tell me what to do. People want to learn. They want to learn and understand it. Because I think what you touched on earlier was really important, is that people are a lot more likely to make sustainable, healthy, lasting change when they understand why they're doing the things they're doing. It's great if somebody who's smart and famous and successful says, eat this thing. And you're like, okay, you seem to know what you're talking about. I'll eat it. But then eventually when you get tired of eating it, or it's not there anymore, or something more delicious is in front of you, you're going to fall off. Whereas if somebody teaches you, here's what this food does to your body, here's why it's so important, here's why it nourishes you, you're going to remember that and think, okay, I know why I'm eating this. I know why I'm doing this. And that was, I feel like, kind of the feeling behind us putting this program together, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just another like education side of things. Like we both love to dive, like we're nerds, right? We love it. And so, like I said, just sharing kind of all the things that we've learned and experienced for ourselves, and kind of putting that into kind of a package, right? That makes sense, that has flow, over the next 3 months, the 3-month program, which I might get a little ahead of myself here. But that is kind of the goal, right? Is to, what are the biggest things that people are struggling with, and how can we, break down like the sciencey, nerdy stuff into something that actually makes sense and that you will learn and be able to apply, not just within the program, but like forever, right? So, yeah.
And
do you want to announce? Oh,
no,
sorry.
I was going to say, well, we're calling it, drum roll, please. The program is called Muscle Science for Women. Muscle science. So nerd stuff, but muscles. I feel like that sums it up really well. But talking about, because we didn't really touch on this, the fact that it's for women. So I think what's important there, and we talk about this a lot, and we've like written whole articles about it, which people will get in the coming weeks, about a lot of the misconceptions, the differences, and the ways we're not so different between men and women in building muscle. So very often, I think it's approached like we're two different species, right? You're completely different. Your training is going to be different. Your bodies are different. Your minds are different. How you should eat is different. All of this stuff. And as with everything in health and wellness, yes, but no, right? Like it's gray. It's not black and white. No, we are not completely different creatures who need a completely different set of, pink dumbbells in order to grow muscle. But we also do have differences in our physiology, in our hormones, and to some degree in our sort of like the psychology, like our approach to the gym and what we think is right or correct or appropriate for women and men. And some of these things we need to debunk and get past. But we thought it was really important for this program to be for women, and it's for women as well as, if you're a coach who coaches women, this is going to be very important for you as well, because there's so much information there. But it was really important that we answer these questions directly for women, because so much of this industry, the standard is you're talking about a man. And even if you're not specifying that you're talking about a man, like half of the fitness podcasts that I listen to, they're hosted by men, and they're talking mostly to men. And if they're talking about a study, or they're talking about a new training plan, or they're talking about whatever, they aren't even thinking that there might be women listening too, or that there might be some considerations. They're just, here's the baseline. And so often we're, as women who are in this world, we're caught trying to figure it out and trying to like translate, like, does this work for me, or how do I change it? And if I adjust it, how do I do that? And is it going to work the same? And is this even appropriate for me? They're not really speaking to me. I don't know. And so we just thought it would be good to do this for women and outline some of the considerations. I think it's important to say, not necessarily differences, but considerations in our unique physiology and hormonal makeup, how things are going to be different, but then also outlining the way things are the same. So that kind of science of like women need to be low fat and only do high reps and stupid shit like that. We need to work through this, but in a very like clearly articulated way. So again, you kind of understand, what the truth is and what the misconceptions are, why those misconceptions are there, and how to work through that for yourself and for any, women that you might be working with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, it's, we're going to be diving into also like the training side of things in the sense of, yes, this program is muscle science for women. So we are focused on building muscle, and we're going to obviously dive into why that's important and a lot of the misconceptions behind that and all the, like, you're going to get bulky crap. Like, we're going to be chatting all about that. But also realizing too that, training specifically for your goals. So like the program itself, right? So we're going to go through the science, right? But then we're also going to go through the application of this. So you're going to get both at the same time. But the application side of things is really understanding that, okay, for most of us, I feel like, and especially like with people who will be interested in this program, not really like interested in like, compete, maybe some, but not really, interested in competing in like some, national powerlifting competition or something like that, right? Where strength is going to be your most important thing we're focused on. A lot of us are just like, all right, I want to like build some muscle,
get stronger,
understand that, get stronger still. But okay, how do we do that? Because strength training and hypertrophy training it's not like they're separated. They go hand in hand, but there are tweaks and things that you need to understand if your main goal is to build muscle versus if your main goal is to get stronger, because they're not equal. And that's something that takes a lot of understanding of the science of building muscle and the science of hypertrophy. And so that's one of the main things that I'm really excited to break down, because once I understood that, I was like, oh, damn it, this all makes sense now. And now I can be super intentional about my training. I can train for my specific goal and understand why I'm doing what I'm doing and kind of apply that. So that's what I'm super excited about. And then also, we're going to be diving into not just the, obviously this program is geared towards building muscle and learning about that, but we will have obviously a nutrition component to it, because you can't do one without the other, right? So we're going to go through all that. So
yeah,
maybe we can, dive into a few of the things within the program if you want, or if you have anything else you want to add.
I like that idea. I mean, I think just to add to what you were saying, because I do think that's really important. It's something that I have kind of touched on a little bit before about the differences between hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, and strength training, which is making your muscles stronger and have more capacity. And I liked what you said there about how it's like a Venn diagram, right? Like they're connected. You can be doing both at the same time, but if you're really purposefully trying to do one or the other, there are going to be tweaks. Like you can get stronger without necessarily growing a significant amount of muscle. And you can also change your body composition and look much more muscular without getting a ton stronger. So you can do both, but you can also prioritize one or the other, and that's totally okay. It's knowing what you want to do. And then, like you said, I love the word intention. You can move forward with intention with your training and your eating and everything to get that goal. Because one of the biggest things I see in my coaching experience is people not actually knowing or having a clear concept of what their goal is. Everybody in the world wants to look good and be fit. Just everybody could say that. That's their goal. I want to look good and be fit. What does that mean? It means something completely different to me than it means to you and to her and to him and to them over there. They mean completely different things. So if you tell me as a coach, I want to get fit and look good, and I say, cool, I know exactly what to do, run the other way. Like I need so much more detail than that. So like for people, that's part of the process too, is determining like exactly what is your goal, because the more clear and tangible you can get about your goal, the more intentional and efficient and sustainable and practical you can get about working back from there to set up your plan and your strategy to achieve it. If you just say, I want to get fit and look good, you'll just flounder around forever, maybe accidentally get there, but not know that you're there because you didn't know what the goal was in the first place. Whereas if you say, and I'm not saying that these are goals you should have, but if you say, I want to lose 10 pounds of body fat, or I want to add 40 pounds to my bench press, like those are very specific, tangible goals that we can work with, right? So the cool thing about this program is we're creating a muscle building program that we're all going to work through together and follow. But it's very scalable. It's very adjustable. The entire program has we've got a video tutorial library so people can see how the movements work. We've got alternate exercises for everything in case you can't go back to the gym, or in case there's just movements or exercises or things that you don't have. But you can also then from there tweak to, if you and I are both taking the program and I'm trying to specifically build more muscle and you're trying to specifically get stronger, we can make tweaks from there too. So it's really cool the way that this, I mean, not to toot our own horn, but it's very cool how we figured this out, where we're creating a resource that is quite complete in itself, but there's so many ways you can make it your own, which is what we want to do, right? Because we don't want to just create this basic template. We want to create an educational resource that you can take and make your own and do what you want with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then also you said there's different routes you can go down depending on where you're looking to go. So the nutrition side of things, we have, obviously, like we mentioned, it's not like like straight nutrition focus, but there is like, that's going to be a huge component of it. And also, if you are, someone who is approaching this program because maybe you do want to lose some body fat, like we are going to give you the tools to set that up for yourself versus if you're like, I don't really, necessarily want to lose body fat, but I want to get stronger. I want to build muscle. Okay, let's do that. Or if you're someone who's like, I really want to build a lot of muscle and like, that's my main focus. I want to get stronger. Okay, well, let's set your nutrition up for that. So it really is all encompassing, which I think is really exciting because it's just like there's not one way to do everything, right? You have to have, like you said, a specific goal. Once you figure out that goal, okay, here are the tools and the strategies and the structure that you need to reach that goal. So yeah.
And the cool thing is stoked. Like the first intake that we do of this, right? We're going to have like a limited number of women who are going to go along with us doing it. And like each of these women could come out of the 3 months successfully, but with different outcomes, which is kind of cool too, right? So like, I'm really excited to see how it works, but let's talk, I guess, because I'm learning marketing people are telling me that we need to give lots of information so that people know exactly what they're, signing up for. So maybe we can talk a little bit about, and we're still kind of tweaking and finalizing details sort of as we go, but talk about sort of how the program's going to actually unfold. So like we said, it's a 12 week, right? 4A12. Yeah. 3 month, 12-week program. It's going to be obviously online, sort of an online community because that's what's happening now. And each week we're going to have video content. So there will either be a lecture from one of us, like a presentation on a specific topic. So we're going to dive into things like obviously the nutrition side, sort of muscle building 101. I think we're talking about supplements. One of the calls, we're talking about biohacks, or another way of saying this is just things to do to improve your health, but people like the word biohack. So we're going to have all of these sort of like really information-packed presentations that people can refer back to, and they kind of apply to the entire course, right? We're doing that every other week. And then the in-between weeks, we're actually doing live Q&As. So we get all the group together and we're going to talk about what's happening in the program, answer specific questions, talk about whatever's coming up, right? Tell us a little bit about like, so the actual program, like the exercise component of it, how is that going to be sort of presented to people?
Yeah, so we will have, it's going to be obviously a 12-week program that goes along with the 12-week course. It'll be divided into 3 phases. And within like the first week, we're going to go through like, okay, this is the program. This is what we're focusing on. It's going to, like, you're going to get the actual program, like, as we go and go through like exactly what the focus is for, this first phase, right? And then so on and so forth as we go. And it's a very, again, not to toot our own horn, but it's a very structured program that I think for myself, like, and you obviously, we've taken a lot of time and put in a lot of work to structuring this program so that it is science-backed, it is results-backed. Like, it's not just like, okay, here's a bunch of exercises, go do them. Like, there is literally an intention for every single thing. There's a reason behind every single thing. There's a flow behind it. And so, yeah, so that's kind of the gist of like the application side of things.
So the program is coming out, remind me, is it going to be like made available week by week or segment by segment? So they'll get like the first months, the second months, the third months, or how's that going to work?
Yeah. So I think we're going to do them by phases. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
That makes sense.
But that might change. We might figure out we want to do it a different way before it goes live. But either way, you'll be getting the program and you'll be, getting a tutorial of how you need to go about it. And then also, like you mentioned, like if you don't have access, and this is one thing too, putting this together through, COVID and through a pandemic, it's like you think about all these different things that you might not have thought about, last year, right? So it's like, okay, here's this exercise. Okay, how can I do the same movement pattern, the same exercise, get the same out of it, but I don't have a barbell, right? I'm working out from home. I only have dumbbells, or I only have resistance bands. Like, what's an alternative to this? And so that's one of the biggest things. It's like literally anybody for any equipment that you have can go through this program and get results. Obviously, I think you have to have at least some type of equipment, right? Some resistance bands, some dumbbells. You could potentially not even necessarily need dumbbells, but resistance bands and, whatever, a backpack full of books, right? So there's alternatives for all of that. And so we give you that and we talk through it. And we give you, options for different things that are like, if you don't have resistance bands, like here, this is what we use, go to Amazon or whatever, just like you can get them for cheap, good quality. So that's kind of one of the biggest things, like as we were putting this together, like, all right, how do we make sure that, people can follow the actual exercises and they don't necessarily have to have access to a gym. So
yeah, it's funny because that's like actually a tangent that we could spend like an entire podcast on, where there's sort of like a dichotomy, I think, especially with women's training, where on one hand, I want to encourage more women to be less afraid of weights and heavy weights and going in and like grunting and trying hard and like failing at a set because the weight's so heavy. Like there's a part of me that wants more women to embrace that. But there's also the sort of like, again, analytical, like research-based part of my mind that's like, but you also don't need that necessarily. And one of the things that we dive into in one of the lectures, I don't know which week or which one, but we're talking about the concept of like muscle tension and muscle contraction and mind muscle connection, and how that is infinitely more important than the number of plates you have on a bar or whatever. And that I know for a fact, because I've lived it and I've seen it, that you can get stronger and get bigger muscles lifting less weight than the girl next to you if you're lifting it really effectively and efficiently and in a focused way and with intention. So it's weird because these two truths do exist, that I want women to embrace the idea of progressively and safely lifting heavy weights, but also knowing, and for the people listening who are like, I don't have a gym with a barbell, or, my weights only go up to 25 pounds or something. I want you to know that you can still do a ton and get a lot of progress and find a lot of pleasure and enjoyment and success in not having to crush super heavy weights. So both of those things sort of exist, if that makes sense. I hope that's not like too confusing.
Yeah. No. I mean, I completely understood it. And like you said, the biggest thing that also had a mindset shift for me as well is just realizing that like our muscles are dumb, right? They don't know the difference between the weight of, a barbell versus the weight of a dumbbell versus the weight of a backpack with books in it. Like obviously there's nuance, there's different things within that, but like they know the tension we put on, they know the intention of what we're doing, and that we're going to get into all that too, right? It's so much more, especially with the goal, right? Especially with the main goal of hypertrophy and building muscle as the main goal. You can do so much there, right? You can absolutely build muscle at home. You can absolutely still get stronger, but with the main goal of building muscle, I think just understanding the why behind what you're doing, understanding that, if I put heavier weights on this, yes, maybe I'll, get stronger, but is that going to be as advantageous if I were to stay at the weights that I'm at and focus more so on my range of motion, focus more so on my mind muscle connection, focus on putting the muscle that I'm trying to actually grow under tension, like having intention with that specific muscle, understanding what that muscle is, right? How it works with your anatomy. Like we're going to be diving into like a bunch of that as well. So I think that's just like another thing that I've definitely learned, especially like over this last year of like personally for me, I dropped my weight in half for my squats because I really want to focus on the number one thing, building muscle and putting the specific muscle under tension. And it's like crazy what's happened, right? Like brought my weight down in half and I'm actually building more muscle than I was when it was double. So it's like,
it's amazing what happens when you throw your ego in the garbage. Honestly, it's amazing. Even for like a very practical example, anybody who has ever done, like if you have any kind of CrossFit or Olympic lifting background, but even like dumbbell shoulder press versus push press. Okay. So a push press, you are using efficiency and movement to move the heaviest weight possible without using your muscles, right? So that's like it's a Olympic lifting movement-ish. Whereas a shoulder press is you using the muscles of your body to move a weight up, in an extended position. You can push press heavier weight than you can shoulder press because you're using momentum and you're using things to help you. So if you look at it the same way as like a bicep curl, everybody in the world has gone to the gym and seen somebody, probably a guy, terribly bicep curling a weight that's way too heavy. And they're using all the momentum of their body and they're swinging it up. And if you told that person, slow down times 5 and do not use any hitching or momentum and just lift it in a, slow and controlled way, they would not be able to do it. That they are not strong enough to lift it properly. They were not, when you're doing it like, a dummy trying to show off, you're using momentum to make it easier. Your muscle is not doing the hard work that it needs to do. Go to the gym right now and try to slowly, properly execute a bicep curl with half the weight that you normally do, but maybe twice the time under tension. And tell me that that's not harder than swinging twice the weight around. Yeah. You know what I mean? So anyway, we have like whole videos explaining this, but it's amazing when you just stop saying, is this person next to me looking at how much weight I'm doing? Better up it by 5-10 pounds. When you stop that and you just say, how can I work the hardest right now? It's amazing the difference.
Yeah. And work smarter too. Right. Not just work smarter versus work harder. Like that's something that I've been focused on as well too, and drilling that into my clients' heads. Also, just one thing I want to mention though, just so that we don't kind of get completely on the other end of things, you do have to lift some heavy weights. Like in terms of when I say heavy weights, I mean, there has to be tension there. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be heavy dumbbells or whatever, like a backpack filled with books and progressing with that. And, because I think there is a side of things like if you're listening to us talk right now, you're like, oh, well, why don't I just get the 5-pound dumbbells and do like 30, 40, 50 reps of that? And am I going to get the same thing out of that? No, it doesn't. There's some things that we need to kind of unpack there. So there's, two kind of sides of the spectrum, and we need to this is what the program is about. It's like educating you on, okay, you don't necessarily have to lift the most in the world and beat that every single week and all of that, but you do have to be getting close to failure. You do have to be stimulating your muscles in the most efficient way for what you're doing. And you have to have enough volume. Like, what the hell is volume, right? We're going to go into that, right? We're going to go into intensity. We're going to go into explaining all of these things that they're concepts that a lot of people don't understand. And I'm going to be completely honest, I did not understand them either until I started to learn more about them and apply them. And so that's a tangent that I could go off.
I like it. We can't give away all the goods in just the first podcast. Right? But another thing that I wanted to just touch on, because I've had a couple people already, because I've just mentioned the program a couple times, and I've had women coming back and asking some questions. And one of them is around the amount of experience or perceived level of fitness or, experience you'd have to get the most out of this course. And I think that's worth talking about here, because I believe that, and I wouldn't want someone to sign up that I don't think would get something out of it. So I don't think there's no reason for us to say every single person in the world should take it just so that we can sell some more tickets, because I think that I want people who are really going to be interested and involved and get something out of it should be the people who sign up. But I do think that there is a pretty wide range of experience that's going to benefit from it. I think rather than how experienced or maybe book smart about physiology and nutrition you are, I think it's more important that you are kind of willing to invest some time and brain power into it, because this isn't, like we said, this isn't a course where we're just going to email you a PDF and you just do it on your own time and figure it out. This is the theory and application. So we're giving you the stuff to go do on your own time, but we're also giving you material and we're teaching you things and we're asking you to interact with us. So as long as you sort of have an interest, and maybe not completely new, what is a dumbbell what is a macro. Like, as long as you generally, like, anybody who I think is probably listening to this, like you said, like, the people who follow us tend to be a little like on the meathead spectrum already. So like they're kind of into this stuff. But I don't want people to think like, oh, I haven't been lifting for 10 years, or I've never taken a course. So is this too much for me? I don't want people to think that it is, because I definitely think that, it's appropriate for you. And I also have had people reach out to me who, frankly, look quite a bit fitter than I am. And I still think that they will benefit from it as well, because we're all on different parts, like places in our fitness journey. And of course, you can look fit and not be, or you can look not fit and be fit. So who knows from looking at somebody, but you could be a pretty experienced person. I have people who are like, I was a former bodybuilder. I'm a firefighter who competes in CrossFit. But I have this plateau, but I have this injury, this nagging injury, and I can't seem to figure it out, or I'm confused about this thing. So, I think that, like, maybe if you're a professional Olympic athlete and you've got a team of people, like, maybe you don't need to take this course. And maybe if you've never looked at a dumbbell before, maybe you spend a couple of days in the gym first. But like, generally speaking, the rest of you, I think, are totally appropriate and welcome. And I think that you'll get a lot out of it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the main things that we've also been focused on as we're developing the program, is not just like, yes, I have access to a gym. No, I don't. But okay, there's different exercises that work with different people, right? So exercise selection is a huge thing. We all have different anatomy, right? We all have different biomechanics. And so talking about that and educating on that is one thing, but then also giving you alternatives to, hey, maybe you have access to a barbell and you can back squat, but is back squatting going to be the best thing for you right now for what your main goal is? Oh, maybe not. So why don't we, choose an alternative to that might be more advantageous for you. Or if you've been back squatting for a while and you're looking to change things up, like, let's change things up, like try this out. So I think that's one thing. And then also realizing that, if you are someone who goes to CrossFit or Orange Theory, or you are, enrolled in a different type of training plan, and you're like, I don't want to stop that, but I still want to join the course. And like, is this for me? Because, what if I want to continue doing CrossFit? I personally think you can absolutely do that, because what we can do too is, like, again, you're learning the education side of things. And yeah, maybe you don't follow the program exactly, but you can take pieces of the program, and we'll talk about how you can incorporate this into your CrossFit training. So maybe instead of going to CrossFit 5 days a week, you go to CrossFit 3 days a week, and then maybe you do 2 days of our program on the other 2 days, right? So it's kind of, that's all in like our minds as we're putting this together, is like, being able to structure this in different ways for different people, because everybody is different for, where they're coming from, what their specific goal is. And also I do want to say, like, we're not, like you said, we're not trying to like get as many people in the program from all these different angles as possible, but it's really understanding that, the education side of things, like, that's not really going to change, right? You still, if you're interested in building muscle, if you're interested in getting fit and toned,
dun, dun,
which we'll talk about in a second.
Our least favorite word on the planet.
Yes, you must understand the science behind it and be able to understand it in a way that makes sense for you. So why don't we chat about that word for a second?
But I just did want to, just to finish up what you're saying, I think that that's why, another reason why that, like, interactivity of this program is really good. The fact that we have those bi-weekly Q&As, because that also allows you not only all of the information and resources and alternate exercises and all the stuff that we're providing you with in the program, but you also have an opportunity in these Q&As to ask these specific questions and say, like, yeah, and I'm fit and I do CrossFit and all this stuff, but like, I really hate cleans, like they hurt my back, or I don't like back squats because this happens, and maybe there's a physiological thing. And so this literally gives you an opportunity to, like, we can ask and answer specific concrete questions to help you tailor your program, so that, again, when this is over and you continue and you maybe do the program for another 3 months on your own, you have all this information and ways to move forward on your own. So I think that's why, like, I'm excited about the live stuff too, because we're going to get like a lot of,
for sure.
Anyway, toned. Want to be toned?
Okay. So
go for it.
Yeah. So this is just something too that, sometimes and this is why we actually struggle a little bit to come up with a name for this program, because I feel like with women specifically, like if you see something like muscle building or hypertrophy, I feel like half the people, I mean, I didn't even know what hypertrophy meant for a long time, right? Obviously, I do now.
I wanted to call, I just wanted an editor's note. I wanted to call the program like Get Huge and Jacked and Buff and Massive Muscles. And Rachel was like, women aren't going to like that. I'm like, I don't care. Like, and then I'm like, yeah, okay. No one's going to sign up for this program. It's like a cartoon of like a sweaty, like, roided out like chick on the, like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll tone it down a little bit, but that's kind of what I am hoping we like work through in this program, is that women aren't terrified of the idea of like getting big and strong and muscular. Like, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think just kind of talking about this word toned, like if you want to be toned, you have to have muscle. Being toned comes from having muscle and having a relatively, I don't want to say lower body fat, but a body fat percentage, and we don't have to get into specifics here, that allows you to look the way you want to look. And getting toned means you have to put in the work to build the muscle first, because when you lose the weight, when you lose the body fat, if you don't have anything underneath that, you're not going to look toned. You're not going to look fit. You're not going to look quote unquote lean. And when women think like, building muscle, I'm going to get bulky and big, the bulky and big that you see maybe is not muscle. That's body fat, right? That's body fat that's covering the muscle. And so when you cut that body fat down, you unveil the muscle, you look lean, you look toned. But if you don't have any muscle, you don't look that way.
Toned is literally the word that marketing people created to describe lean and muscular for women, because we've been taught that saying muscular on women is a negative, bad, unappealing, unattractive thing. So we had to come up with another word that literally says the exact same thing, but in a way that is not going to be intimidating or scary, because God forbid a woman is intimidating or scary or muscular, but it literally is the same thing. Like if you look at a guy on Men's Fitness or you look at a woman on Women's Fitness, they're both toned. That's what they are. They have muscle and they have a low enough body fat so that you can see the shape and the definition of the muscle underneath the fat. And I mean, I will say too, that like the more muscle you build, the more, to a certain extent, healthy fat levels you can have and still maintain that sort of attractive toned look that you want. Because I know for a fact that over, the decade or so that I've been training seriously, my body has changed. The shape of my body has changed as I've added muscle, so that when I go through my normal kind of cyclical periods of lower or higher body fat due to the weather, how much I'm eating, whether I'm staying in or not, whether I'm training for something or not, I still am much happier with the way my body looks, the way it fits into clothes, the shape of it, because I have that body shaping muscle underneath whatever the fat level is that I happen to have. And, the other side of toned is the word that I probably hate even more than toned, which is skinny fat. Because again, I think it's a very gendered word. Like, I mean, you could describe dudes as skinny fat too, but we generally don't. And that is basically describing the sad outcome of when women want to be toned and they work too hard on the fat loss and not hard enough on the muscle growth part of it. Or they dismiss that altogether because they haven't understood the importance of the muscle part. And so they think that everybody has a fitness model's body underneath the fat. All they have to do is diet hard enough and do enough cardio, lose those fat levels, and you're going to have this beautifully shaped, lean toned body underneath, which is generally speaking, not the case for anybody. But certainly if you didn't grow up playing sports, if you haven't built any significant amount of muscle on your body. When you lose that fat, chances are, and again, we're speaking in general terms because I think what people consider their ideal body shape is different for everybody. I happen to really like big, broad shoulders on myself and on everyone else. Some people don't like that. Some people aren't going to want as much muscle. Some people are going to want more muscle. But generally speaking, that muscle is universally appealing because it shows that somebody is fit and healthy and strong. And subconsciously and consciously, we all react to that, right? So, but if we've never been taught, especially as women, that we have to actually work for that and we have to nourish our bodies and train for that and build that muscle, because it doesn't just appear out of nowhere for most of us. And so people chronically restrict their eating and they're hungry all the time and they bust their ass on the treadmill forever and they lose 20 pounds. And then they look in the mirror and they're like, why don't I like what's happening here? Because we haven't done the work to nourish our body, build the muscle, and create the shape that we want. And the cool news about this, and coming from a bodybuilding background, you really can shape your body. We all look different and we all have different sort of baselines and physiology, and even from our skeletal structure. And some people are going to be born with wider hips or wider shoulders, or going to have a more hourglass figure versus a V shape or whatever it is. But we have the ability through hypertrophy and through muscle growth to make adjustments to the way we look. And if we, and I don't know if we need to get too much into this because I don't want to obsess over aesthetics. I don't want to make it seem like that's the most important thing, but for a lot of people it is important. And there's also nothing wrong with, again, wanting to look good and wanting to look good in clothes and show off your muscles and stuff. I just think it's interesting and useful for people to know that you have a lot of control over changing the shape of your body and how you want it to look in clothes. I mean, women are learning this over the last 5-10 years about growing a big ass, which everyone's into, growing a big booty and that looks good in your leggings or looks good in your bathing suit or whatever. You're shaping your glutes through muscle growth. That's what you're doing. And if you want to look like a nice hourglass in a tight dress, building out your shoulders and building out your legs and butt is going to make your midsection look smaller and give you a nice shape. Exactly. Like you can do these things. So I think it's kind of cool. Like if you take it, if you look at it less like, I got to restrict, I got to be smaller, I got to work it off, I got to get rid of the fat, I got to do this. And like, it's a fear-based thing. And you look at it like, my body is my temple and it's a work of art. And I can work in the gym to build it and grow it and make it look the way I want it to look. You can see it from a more positive, fun perspective than a restrictive, fear-based, I have to look this way or else kind of approach,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's also like another reason why we're putting this program together is to give you the tools to do that efficiently, right? So you don't have to wait another 5 years to learn these things like we had to do. Like, we made the mistakes. And everybody's always learning. You're always going to like, quote unquote, make the mistakes. That's part of it, right? That's part of the process. But like, we've been in this for a long time. We've done this for ourselves for a long time and worked with several women. And that in itself, just having that experience has allowed us to piece this together and basically package it into a way that will give you this information in a structured way that you can understand and can make it much more efficient for you to reach your goal a lot faster. And I'm not saying that like you're going to build a ton of muscle over a 3-month period. That's not really how it works. You will build a good amount, right? Like if you follow the program, if you understand and learn, you're going to build. But going beyond that, right? Taking what you learn from the program, taking the tools, the strategies, all that, you'll be able to continue, moving forward and do it in an efficient way. And then also just kind of on the other side of things, like obviously the aesthetic goals, I hate that word because I can never say it. Your
aesthetic.
Yes. Those goals are important because those, we all want to look good. We all want to feel confident in our own skin in a bathing suit, blah, blah, blah. But building muscle is so much more than that as well, right? We know that. And that's also what we're going to, talk about as well. Like there's so many health benefits, longevity benefits, confidence, mindset benefits to building muscle and to lifting weights and lifting in general. And I think that's something too that like some people don't think about as well. So we'll be diving into that and the benefits of that. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention too, and I totally forgot.
That's so huge though. Like we didn't even talk about that. Like we're talking about looking better and being stronger in the gym, but we have like, and I think we wrote a whole article about this too, about the other benefits of strength building being things like you are literally better at life. Like you're going to have less aches and pains. You're going to have better injury prevention. You're going to be able to carry your groceries or your kid better. You're going to do your sports or the things you do for fun better. You're going to possibly be better at your job, whatever it is, because you're functioning better and you have better energy and you have better confidence. Maybe you have better posture. Like all of these things are going to improve your life. And then when you gain competence in the gym because you're getting stronger and you're getting better at things, that has a positive cascade effect for the rest of your life. You may gain confidence in other areas. Like I've absolutely seen that for myself and for other women and men. So yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things too is when you look at it like a holistic improving my life perspective, all the other stuff that comes, like you become more metabolically flexible, you suddenly look better in your clothes, all of those things are like these amazing bonuses that you're like, oh shit, like I'm like smarter now. I understand this stuff. I'm better at XYZ and I look better now. And I can like maybe eat more carbs, like all of these things that happen that are like these positive side effects. I mean, yeah, maybe if people did, we just talked about aesthetics, but maybe if people did focus more on like the life changing, like this is a change in your lifestyle and your life and your approach to life. And then all of these other kind of things are like great bonuses that come along with it. I mean, that's kind of a cool way to look at it too.
Yeah, for sure. And then just kind of also chatting about like fueling appropriately, like we're going to talk about that, like fueling appropriately for your goals and like understanding what that looks like, right? So, you know, I feel like we have a good amount of followers who are into like the low carb lifestyle and keto, or maybe you're not. But if you are into that, like, okay, that can be beneficial for sure. Like there's so many benefits to that. But like if that's not working for you anymore, or if you've hit like this kind of standpoint with your nutrition and you are looking to build muscle, you are looking to change your physique and get toned. I don't know why I said it like that. There may be some nutritional things that you can do and small tweaks that you can make that will make a huge difference to how you train every day or how you perform, which in itself is going to allow you to become better, build more muscle, blah, 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 blah. So that's a big thing we're going to get into as well. It's just fueling appropriately for the goal at hand and understanding the recovery side of things and understanding, like we have a whole lecture, right, on recovery and why it's important, why you need that, all that jazz.
How to do it, you know, what recovery is and what it isn't. Because again, it's like, I think so much of the education component of this stuff is like defining terms, kind of like we just did with the word toned. When you know what you're saying and when you know what you're asking for and when you know what you're talking about, then you know how to get it. So a lot of people throw around words. They throw around keto when they don't actually know what that means or what it's doing for them anymore. Or they throw around fasting or, you know, whatever it is. And it's like, let's get really clear, because some people may think that they're recovering properly and they're not even close, you know, because they don't actually, we haven't really like definitively described what that means. So yeah, we did a lot of work for this program. I feel pretty good about it. Like, I mean, I learned stuff as we were going through this, like, I mean, anyway, okay. So we could kind of talk about this forever, but should we also maybe just, we've got some like kind of like loose schedule and dates. Like this podcast is going to come out around mid-March, right? And probably the same week that this comes out, we're also going to do an IG live after this comes out, so that anybody who listened, who's interested in learning more, maybe wants to ask some more questions, we're going to go live and talk about it. And then,
and I guess did we say the date that it's going to officially start?
No, we didn't.
Okay. So official start date will be April 12th, Monday, April 12th. That will be the first day of the program. Like we said, it is the first iteration. It is going to be a live program. We're going to have access to us, you know, throughout the entire 3 months. So we will be having limited spots, just to make sure that we can bring as much value as possible. So if you're, we're going to link,
Not COVID. She's
Why
just
don't you
talking
say
a lot. Here I go. I'll take over.
Take over.
So it is starting Monday, April 12th. We're going to make it available for people to purchase, to sign up a few weeks before that. So we're thinking like end of March, we'll open it up because we want to give people time. And we know it takes some people time to, think about it. And it's an investment in your time and your money. So we'll give you guys a little bit of time, but it is kind of a first come, first serve. Because like you said, we're not going to have hundreds of people in this first intake. And then I think what we're going to do after that is, depending on feedback from the people who take the first program, which I know will just be glowing, awesome, happy feedback, we're looking at maybe offering potentially like, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe we'll try to do this like a couple times a year live. And then we may also package up like a more sort of just like curriculum based, not live version that will live online for people who maybe don't necessarily need the ongoing accountability kind of thing. They like to learn at their own pace. So I think we were kind of thinking about offering both options. So for people who want to do the community-based live Q&As, like work through it with us, we'll do that. And then for the people who are kind of like, I just want the information and then I'll just take it, like we can make that available to people too. Yeah.
Well, but we haven't figured that out yet. So, but I think that makes the most sense. But yeah, and I think we'll also have, further pieces of the program that will be added on as we get feedback and stuff like that. But, I mean, I think everything that we already have going right now, like
it's plenty.
This is definitely more than enough to get started. What else did I want to mention? Gosh, I keep forgetting.
So they can buy it. We'll probably just like shut down the sales page, I guess, when we've hit kind of the number. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I mean, in the meantime too, like anybody can send us messages on Instagram. You can send us an email. We're going to be posting in our newsletters. If you guys follow us already, you'll have access to it. I've already been creating kind of like a VIP list of people who have been reaching out because they're interested. So they'll sort of get first to know. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm in, I really want to do this, like send us a message. We'll make sure you're on the list.
Yeah. Or we're going to link. So in the show notes of this episode, we're going to link to the page where you can sign up. So basically if you're interested at all in the program, you want to learn more about it before we actually, open up the enrollment, just go to the link in the show notes and you'll just enter your name and your email. And you'll basically get on the waiting list and you'll kind of have like the first dibs for access to the program since there is a limited amount of spots available. So if you are interested, if you're listening to this or watching this, just make sure you hit that link in the show notes. And even if you've sent us a message already and you're not on that, you haven't signed up for the link yet, I would definitely sign up because we're going to be sending some more info, some more like sneak peeks of the program and things like that to everybody on that list. So definitely sign up if you're interested.
First dibs on getting toned. That should be the name of the program. Oh, God. Toned. Maybe someday our legacy in this industry will be to abolish the word toned. Can you imagine? We could like go down in history. Awesome. Like no one will use that word anymore because it will be like so universally reviled. Everyone's just like, that word sucks because of us.
Or we can like actually make it mean what it means, which would be awesome.
Only way I would be okay with that is if we started using the word equally for men and women. That's the only way I could get into it because it's the same. Why is there a special word for women being muscular? Why do we have to have like a special soft euphemism word? Like either call us both muscular or call us both toned. I'm going to die on this hill, guys. That's it.
Oh, wait, there's one thing that I just remembered that I was going to say. Okay, so when we were talking about the aesthetic side of things, oh my God, I said the word. Cellulite. Okay, so the reason I'm saying this because I have a lot of clients who are like, how do I get rid of this stupid cellulite? Okay, yes, body fat plays a role in that. But building muscle and like building up, most of us hold our cellulite around our hips and our butt area. If you have muscle there, that will fill out your butt, your hips, right? That, I grew up with cellulite. I think there's a genetic component to that as well, just how you kind of carry that. And it did not go away. No matter how much weight I lost, it did not go away until I started lifting weights and building muscle. And then it went away. So I think that's just one thing. I don't know why that's random, but I think a lot of women struggle with that. So that's something to realize too. Like if you want to build a physique, a shape, right? And also, you know, make it easier for yourself to get rid of that cellulite, having muscle is your
friend.
That's where the magic's at.
Having muscle
right?
is your friend in all cases. I mean, I think it's worth noting too that like 99% of women have cellulite. I mean, probably 50% of men have it. Like it is extremely common. And to be honest with a lot of people, this is like a hard truth. 99% of women are going to continue to have it no matter how lean and fit you get. And 99% of fitness models also have it. Maybe they have a little bit, maybe it's very minor or very light because again, they've got this great ratio of fat to muscle, and having more muscle and having less fat is going to reduce the visibility of it for sure. But I think that's part of like the big mindset component that we're going to talk about too, is not to say that you should settle or give up. And if you have goals and if you want to improve the way your body looks, but to also understand what realistic expectations are, to understand that we're all still human and we're not ever going to look perfect because nobody on the planet looks perfect. Even J-Lo has pores. You just don't ever see them. You know what I mean? She probably has cellulite too. Like, you know what I mean? So, it's a valuable, like that is a valuable part of the conversation. Cause again, that is more specific to women, but, part of it is like, you can be toned and fit and look really good and be really strong and also still have a little bit of cellulite. Cause guess what? We're human beings. So anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I like that you mentioned that too. I was just kind of, you know, if it's something that you're looking to improve or something you've been struggling with, there's ways to minimize it that are beneficial for you. And then also before we wrap up here, I do want to just mention this program is also, you know, I don't think there's any like age limit, right, to the program at all. I'm kind of just thinking about when I talked about that cellulite side of things and the genetic side of things, like for example, like my mom is, you know, 60 something years old, and I don't want to, you know, blow her up here, but she's just started lifting weights last year. I think we talked about this before, and following a program, like a strategic program, following, you know, one of my programs, helping her out. And she's absolutely changed her body composition. She's absolutely built muscle, and she's 60 plus years old. So cool. My sister, who is 32, 33, same thing with her. She did not lift weights. She didn't understand the concept of, you know, having muscle and how that forms, you know, how that builds your physique. She started lifting weights and like obviously with some of my help and other things. And she completely changed her physique. And so I don't think there's any limit to the age range, because every single woman, if you're 20 years old, if you're 90 years old, can benefit from understanding these concepts.
I think it'd be amazing if we got some like 80, 90-year-old badasses signed up and do some squats with us. It'd be super cool. Awesome. All right. I feel like we've promoted ourselves shamelessly enough today, but I think, you know, I am very excited. I think that this is going to be, like I said at the beginning, something pretty unique and unlike most of what you see out there when you're looking for online programs and support. And I'm really, really excited to see the group that we get together in April and see how it plays out. And we'll continue to share stuff too. I think it would be great if we did like a podcast wrap up. We'll obviously be sharing stuff on social media so that people who maybe didn't get in on the first round can see what we're doing. But I think it's going to be
absolutely
awesome.
And I was just going to say, like, if you're listening to this, you know, for the first time after the program's already started in April, definitely still go to that link in the show notes, because we're going to have an ongoing sign up list for the next round. So if you can get in, you know, first dibs on getting into that or on that list for the next round, if you're interested, it'll always be open. So just wanted to make sure we got that across.
Sweet. All right, Rachel, awesome. You're my fave. First dibs on getting toned 2021.
Oh boy. We're going to have to like make some memes with this.
I'm one